For a long time now, you've been dreaming about, talking about, and now maybe even planning that next big move in your life. You're looking to downsize. You're looking to sell your current home and make that shift to a new space, whether it's in your current town or maybe even relocating to another state to bring your life into that next phase. Well, stick around, you're not going to want to miss it. Today we're going to go over my top 4 tips for those who are downsizing and relocating. Hello Central Maine, it is your realtor Nick Isgro with eXp Realty. Now, as I just said at the beginning, today we're going to go over my top 4 tips for those who are finally making that move to sell their current home, relocate, or maybe even downsize and simplify to accommodate their next phase, their next lifestyle. Before I get into that, I do want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly in the Central Maine market. If that's of interest to you or adds value to your process and the buying and selling of homes, do me a favor, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, knock that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time we put out new content. Now, jumping right into the meat of it here, relocating, downsizing, especially if you're getting towards your retirement years, is a major decision. A lot of times you've been living in that home for maybe 10, 20, sometimes 30 years. Could be the home that you raised your children in, and there's a lot that's going to go into this process. It's going to be a big process, an emotional one. I know for years my own parents had spoken about downsizing, and frankly they ended up moving to South Carolina for a while, ended up in a bigger space than the space they had left. And after a lot of grandkids started coming into play here in Maine, they moved back, and they finally now, in these last few years, have made that move to downsize and created a beautiful, simpler space for themselves. But it didn't come without a lot of thought and a lot of planning, and those are a lot of you out there that I'm working with right now making these moves. So let's jump right into this and start talking about this. My first tip here is take stock of the situation, whether it's just you maybe that's making the move, or maybe there's 2 of you, maybe there's more than one decision maker in this. You want to take full stock of the situation because this is a major move. In the beginning, it's going to seem like such a daunting task, but in the end, you have to remember that the results are going to be positive. You're going to be moving into that next phase, upgrading into that next level of lifestyle that you've been thinking about for a long time, and really simplifying so you can start growing into that new lifestyle. Some of this taking stock process is going to be just taking some time, writing down on paper as you're thinking about it, some of your thoughts and emotions about moving. Start thinking about the things of what you like about where you are now, and maybe some of the things you don't like. Maybe that's going to help you create the list of pros and cons, the must-haves that you want in the next space that you're going to. One thing I want to warn about here is not allowing any outside lobbyists. And this is where it can get a little tricky because you may have children, you may have parents, you might have outside family members and friends who are all going to have their opinions on what you should do. But at the end of the day, you and your partner are really going to be the ones who need to make the decision of what's right for you. So that's just one of the most important things. Doesn't mean you can't ask for opinions, but it means that as you're really taking stock of where you are and where you want to go, think about what's going to make you happy and what's going to be right for you or you and your partner. Now, if there are more than one of you, if you're a couple that are in this process and you and your partner are talking about this, it may get a little heated. You might start finding as you go through this that you want maybe a little bit different thing here, a little bit different thing there. And it's going to be important that you create some space for both of you to really express your feelings and talk about your feelings, and know that as things start to get a little heated sometimes, be willing to set it down and walk away. If you do this, I can promise you, from all of the clients that I've worked with, you're going to come out in a much better place, and a place where you've both really been able to narrow down to that joint decision of what you're both looking for. It's going to work best for the both of you. Moving on to tip number 2, after you've taken stock of where you are and stock of where you might want to go, now is the time to start setting priorities about what you want. That's where you want to go. What is it you're looking for? Now, it may be that you want to relocate. Now, it may be that you want to relocate right in your own area. It may also be that you're looking to move out of state. You might want to go in a totally different direction. Here in Maine, as we know, as a lot of people are making these transitions, Florida is a big destination. And in fact, we have a lot of people, as they're in the downsizing process, are downsizing here in Maine, simplifying here, but then also looking for a place in Florida. So it may be a combination, relocation, downsizing. It could just be moving from one house here to another house also here, right here in the great state of Maine. Regardless, the first thing you want to do is speak to a local real estate agent. Your local realtor here is going to give you a good sense of what's going on in the market, and you want to make sure that you've worked with someone who understands exactly this process of downsizing. That's going to be able to listen to your needs, listen to your wants, prioritize the tasks on the real estate side for you here in order to get you to your objective on the other end. Now, it may be that you're also looking for some space here as well, and that person will be able to help you navigate that. If you're looking at relocating to another state, you want to be speaking to a local agent in that location, really in the town, or at least in the vicinity of the town that you're thinking about working for. If you'd be working with me, for example, I work with a team of agents that's all over the US and all over Canada. I would just simply refer you to another agent that I know is a professional in that specific marketplace and hook you up with there. Even if your agent doesn't have that particular network, they still should be able to make some calls for you and get you pointed in the right direction. Or maybe you already know somebody, maybe you know people who live in that area, maybe you have family there. They would be really the best people also to help hook you up with that professional in the new location. As you're setting these priorities, the things that you want to go through are really what kind of size space. Maybe this is a time where you actually want a bigger space to spread out. You're going to have the kids coming home with the grandkids. Maybe that's something you're looking forward to. Maybe you want the extra space. Maybe you don't really care. Maybe you want something a little bit simpler that's going to be easier for you to care for because you're going to have new hobbies, new activities depending on what you're doing, where you're going, and what your lifestyle is. Do you want to be remote? Do you want to be closer to amenities? These are all things that you want to think about and really just start writing down and setting those priorities. And as you get through that, you're going to be able to start ranking those as to what's the most important to the least important. Because at the end of the day, you probably won't check every single box of all of the different things you want, but you're going to get pretty darn close, and you'll also make new discoveries along the way, but at least you'll know you'll be going in the right direction when you start. After you've gone through that exercise of setting those priorities, you really want to now move to phase 3, which is creating a detailed action plan, a detailed list of things you need to start doing in order to get this process started. Now, you may have already talked to the realtor. If you haven't, you definitely want to bring the realtor in at this phase in the game. You also want to start thinking about, where is stuff going to go? Is this going to be a phased transition? Maybe you're going to sell and rent in your current space for a little bit while you buy somewhere else. Maybe you're going to rent in the other location and phase yourself that way before you sell in your current location. There's a lot of things that are going to go into this, but you want to start making a detailed action plan of steps you need to take, so when you're ready to pull the trigger, you're ready to put the plan in action, everything's ready to go. And that leads us right into number 4, which is starting the process of downsizing. Now, this is going to be really the emotional part and sometimes the really difficult part, because this is where you're going to start going through all of your stuff. Now, if you've been in your current home for the last 20 or 30 years, maybe that's where you raised your kids, you're going to start looking at things, whether it's pieces of furniture or maybe it's that bag of your child's artwork that you've had since they were in kindergarten, but now they're off with a family of their own working out of state. Maybe it's a piece of clothing that you've had since you were a child. Maybe it's something that a good friend gave you or another family member. All of these things are things you're going to have to start going through. Now, what I really recommend in this part of the process is that you just go through room by room and making that definite decision on every item. Is it coming? Is it going? Is it being given to somebody else? At the end of the day, you're probably going to have family members that you want to call and talk to, whether they're your children, nieces, nephews, maybe it's mom and dad, maybe somebody in the family wants some of these items that have some value that may no longer be valuable to you, but it's just going to be something that you have to think about long and hard about whether it's something that you really need to bring with you. And what I want to remind you here is that as you're going through this, a lot of people feel like when they're making this move, they're letting go of their past, they're letting go. But that's not really the case, at least from the people I have worked with and from my own experience in this business and doing this over and over again, is that it's important to remember you're taking the memories with you. All of the memories of this place are going to follow with you to your new space in this new stage of your life. And when they follow you there, you're going to be able to reminisce on them. At the same time, you're going to be making new and more wonderful memories along the way as well. So just something to think about, but remember, not everything's going to come with you. Also remember too, that if there's a lot of things you don't want or don't need, there's a lot of local charities that are probably going to be more than happy to take gently used furniture and clothing for men, women, and children, depending on the local charities in your community. I know right here in Central Maine, there's a great need for a lot of things like this. And there's some great charities who are willing to take them off your hands and make sure they get repurposed. That's really it in my 4 tips as things you want to think about in this process of downsizing your home, moving on to that next phase in your life. I hope that you found it helpful. Again, my name is Nick Isgro. I'm with eXp Realty right here in Central Maine. If you are going through this process, if you've been through the process, do me a favor, go ahead and drop a comment down below. Would love to hear what your experience is on that. And also, if it's something you would like more information on, if it's the process that you're setting out on, you're going on this journey right now, all of my contact information is in the link that is on this post. Please reach out however is most convenient for you. I promise to get right back to you and get started with you on this journey. As always, thank you so much to each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this video, and until the next one, I'll see you next time.